Test, test, test. What's going on, yo? What's going on? Let me know how we sounding. Let me know how we sounding. We got a couple subjects we're looking at. We're going to bring some stuff down in a second. We're just going to wait a couple minutes, let some more people hop up in here. Make sure you go ahead and like the live as y'all hop up in here. Make sure you subscribe as well. We're right around the corner from 3,200 subscribers. We can get to that easily. We got GBP news popping off right now, so we're going to let this 15 play out. Got GBP news popping off. And then going into New York session at 8:30, we got Canadian and USD news. What's going on, Flavia? I see you up in here. On the live yesterday, charge extra per hour. I'm looking for entry point now. Thank you. Hey, no problem, no problem. Yeah, I missed yesterday's live. I do recommend watching that because we broke down a lot of free game in there. A lot of good questions was asked, as well as y'all can see how price played out from the London session live. Right, so y'all was in yesterday's London session live. What do we talk about? We talked about GJ buys and gold buys. We can see gold's been flying, but we're not talking about this right here. We're talking about what took place yesterday. We talked about gold buys in yesterday's live stream, and we talked about GJ buys. Again, this was Thursday, right? And if y'all watch the Sunday chart analysis, this is why I say the Sunday chart analysis doesn't just go over what we see price doing Sunday night going into Monday. It goes over what we see price doing throughout the entire week. And at the beginning of the week, what did I say about GJ? We was bullish. We was just simply in a retracement, right? And we can see that now. We're going to GJ. What do we see? It's going to naked chart. We see the bullish momentum continued, right? This is where we started the week at Monday. Higher high, higher low, higher high, right? Right, and then what did we talk about with NAS? We said we could look for sells on NAS100 yesterday if it could not only break but hold 19,840 as resistance. That's why it's so important not to be in a rush and stick to the playbook. Because imagine if you would have went for a sell here without just simply waiting for the retest, you would have took an unnecessary loss. Went for a sell here, would have took an unnecessary loss. But look what happened. Wait for price to break and retest. All right. So again, don't be in such a rush to try to get into trades or try to catch every pip in the market. That's not the goal, right? The goal is to go for high probability, high quality setups, not to try to catch every pip in the market. That's how I used to know how a lot of people end up blowing an account in a week and a day is because they're trying to chase everything price is doing instead of following the flow of price. You get what I'm saying? Same thing with GN. What we talk about with GN, we said if we could hold this low as support at 26.15, we could look for buys, or if we broke below 24.45 and held this as a resistance, we could look for sells. We obviously see price failed to do that. And we see here price pushed up. So when we go into the bigger time frame, what do we see? We see the bullish momentum coming back into play, right? So we're about to break this down right here, right? Because this is what we talk about in the playbook. And I know if y'all saw me send the link out to the live, y'all saw the official playbook is now available. Click that link to check that out. But we're going to talk about a little bit what the playbook's talking about and how this applied to GN right here, right? Because when we look at GN right here, it kind of looks a little wonky, right? Because it's not looking like clear higher highs or clear lower lows, right? So this is why it's important not just to try to identify a candlestick or pattern, but to understand how price actually works and how price actually moves. So we're about to break down this thing right here in a second. Let me cut you to the chat, y'all. Y'all hop up in here. Make sure to hit the like on the live, y'all, and subscribe if not subscribed already. Dropped a new video for y'all yesterday. I gotta check. Maybe one's dropping today, but if not, I definitely got one dropping for y'all Saturday, right? I got a crypto update dropping for y'all on Saturday. But I gotta double check my schedule. But if I got some time, I got a video I'm gonna get pushed out for y'all during New York session. Let's see what we got up in here. What's going on, Fibonacci up here? What would you recommend is the best broker to trade futures? Strictly futures. There's what's that one? I think it's called. I haven't used it in a minute, to be honest, because now I mainly just be using my prop firms to trade futures and gold. But there was one I was using, especially back when they're like, oh man, these Americans are making too much money now. Everybody's trying to day trade now. Playmaker Wiz giving the sauce. We got a M24, M25. I think it's called like Tradeovate or something like that. Let me look it up real quick. But I talked about it in the video. I'm gonna drop the video in the chat right now. So I can't remember off the top of my head because right now, me personally, I'm mainly on the forex side. If I trade, obviously I call signals for NAS100. So if I trade NAS100 or gold, I mainly trade those in my prop firms. And then like forex pairs, I trade both forex pairs with my personal and my prop firm accounts. But there was a broker that I have students use and that I used to use that's like strictly or mainly futures. Let me look it up really quick. I'm just gonna drop the video in the chat. And then if anyone else, because there's not really, I wouldn't even say there's a best, because this isn't going to be the best, right? This is just one that is important, right? That the charges aren't too much. It's regulated, so your money's going to be safe, and most importantly, you can use it and it's secure, right? But find this. Yeah, so drop that in the chat. No problem. Yeah, but anyone else trades futures in here, you can say what y'all be using. Drop it in the chat, help a boy out. All right, so we're about to break this stuff down, but first, again, we got a GBP news popping off right now, so we're just letting GBP news do its thing. It's got a nice one during Tokyo session, hit like TP3 or something like that. Let me pull it up on my phone, so I'm not making stuff up. But we got wicked out of this, so now we're going to be looking for a re-entry. Yeah, we hit TP3, so we took this setup again, very simple. All right, let's go ahead and pull out this book so we can break this thing down. So let me click this. We try not to mess up because they're going to be trolling me sometimes. All right. So let's move this book. Yeah, one second. I'm trying to find the right part. If you guys got any questions, drop in the chat. We're getting charts, drop in the chat. Again, we got a couple settings we're looking at right now. NAS is doing a nice drop, so unless it retraces, we're not going to really mess with it. Let me bring this alert down. All right, this was was talking about in yesterday's live stream. So if NAS can continue to hold 19,840 as resistance, we can look for sales going out of 19,670. We also have at 8:30 USD and Canadian news. So members, we are going to be going live during today's news event as well. Just going to see how things play out and answer questions and all that good stuff. All right, so we're going to break this down. Just make sure I'm not missing anything. Let me get rid of this. I don't know what happened here. I'm going to have to fix my levels. I don't know what happened there. So I'll let price do its thing. All right. So again, this is why it's important to understand the rules of price, right? Because a lot of times, what do most people do when they look at a chart? They focus on the current candlestick. So let's rewind a little bit, right? So a lot of people will focus on the current candlestick. So right here, obviously we know what price is doing right now, so let's not cheat. Let's be honest with ourselves. We're looking at price right now. What do y'all see? Uptrend, downtrend, else? Let me know. We're looking at price right now. Let me know what y'all see. And again, we know what price is doing now, but this is for learning purposes, so we can understand why I've been saying what I've been saying the entire week. All right. If you got any questions, drop them in the chat. If you need charts, drop them in the chat. All right, so looking at price right now, if you was to open up your chart, this will see what y'all be looking for. Buys, right? Uptrend, downtrend, what y'all see right here. All right, cool. All right, so uptrend. What does pips mean, if you don't mind me asking? Pips means like percentage and stuff. I don't remember the term off the top of my head. The reason is not that important. What is important is what pips are, right? So pips are, for example, we're looking at GBP New Zealand. You see all the way to the right, this red number here has says 2.2301. And this is what I was talking about in the TikTok live yesterday. If you're not following me on Instagram and TikTok, by the way, make sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. You see it underneath my boy's name on the screen. Instagram playmaker_weight, TikTok _playmaker_weight_. All right. But pips are, like I was talking about the TikTok live yesterday, these aren't just random numbers on the charts, right? So this is why I always stress you got to understand what we're doing here. And I know it can be kind of misleading with all these clickbait videos online, but this is why we just keep it strictly with the charts over here, because the charts was important, right? But again, these are real currencies. Like when you look at gold, if you Google how much gold is worth, it's going to tell you the same exact number, right? So these aren't just random numbers, which is why, again, I always stress price just can't forever shoot up and price just can't forever shoot down, because if it did, the economy would not be stable and things would crash and not be balanced, right? So again, this is why, yes, there is manipulation in the markets, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a reason why there's manipulation in the markets, right? So going back to that, so again, we see here how price is 2.2301, right? So that's $2.23, right? So every time price will go up or down a number, that is a pip, right? So when it comes to futures or indices, instead of pips, people say points, but you can still calculate pips when it comes to futures and indices, which is a lot better in my opinion. So that way you can actually calculate properly how much you're risking, because you do points, you're not really going to be able to calculate properly unless you trade it all the time. But that's a whole nother conversation, right? So for this one, for example, it says 2.2301, right? So what you would do is you would go to the fourth one behind the decimal, right? So you see 2301, right? So, right, just like with GJ, right? It's that 195.06. The GJ is a little bit different. So this one kind of gets confusing, why it's important to kind of understand how to count pips. And how I figured this out was I literally had to experiment, right? So what I did, because again, if y'all don't know, I used to try to figure things out the hard way, because, I try to find people to help me, but as we know, most people don't want to try to help you. So I had to learn the hard way. So back when I was working 2 jobs, 6 days, blah, 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 every other paycheck, because the way it was, I was getting paid every 2 weeks, right? But the way my 2 jobs lined up was they overlapped almost. Well, they didn't overlap, but it was like perfect. So my first job's 2 weeks paycheck will come this week, and then next week would be my second week, aka my next paycheck for my second job. So every week I was getting a paycheck, so it was beautiful. But the thing that wasn't beautiful was every time I got a paycheck, I was either putting money into an account or buying a challenge, and literally I was blowing I blew like half my money for like 2 years straight trying to figure this shit out. But it was worth it, because after I realized that I need things to figure out, that's when I sat down and was like, okay, why do I keep losing these trades? And the first thing I figured out was what I always stress is I don't know how to read the charts. But the next thing was, obviously I didn't have a game plan, but I also didn't understand what I was doing, right? Because again, the reason why a lot of people end up over leveraging and stuff like that is because they don't calculate their lot size, or they don't know how to properly calculate your lot size, which is how I discovered how to start to count pips. So it's a little bit different for each one. So again, that's why I had to experiment to figure out how to count pips, right? Because when we look at GJ, it's at 195.08, right? So like I was talking about with GN, we'd calculate pips differently, because we wouldn't calculate it the same way with GJ, but that's because this is worth less than GJ as well, right? So that's why sometimes people are like, oh, I like to trade gold because I make more money with gold. It's like, are you making more money with gold, or is it because your account size is small, so it looks like you're making a lot more money because your account size is small, right? That's why you can't trade certain things unless you have a certain amount of money, because you end up over leveraging, right? Like for example, you got a $200 account, you shouldn't trade US30, because if that goes in drawdown, you're going to lose all your money, right? So that's why a lot of people like to trade like US30, gold, or like strictly indices and futures, because when you have smaller accounts, it's going to look like you're making a lot of money because of over leveraging and stuff like that, right? But if you have, a 10K account, 50K account, and you put the same exact lot size you was putting on your $300, $500 account trading gold or NAS or whatever, you would realize that you're making the same amount, but it's not looking like a lot, because you have an actual account size that where, you do hit your stop loss, you're not about to blow half your account, right? But that's a whole nother conversation. So let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. So we're about to see if we can hold this level here in the 50. Just popped up. Right. So again, here, this is $2, right? But we look at GJ is at 195. So this is why you can't really calculate them the same. Like with GJ, it'll be 2 decimals behind, right? So every time, so it's at 195.08 right now. It's from 195.08 to 195.18 and went up 10 pips. If it goes down from 195.08 to 195 even, it went down 8 pips. You see how that works? But when we go to GN, it's a little bit different, right? It's at $2.23. So you go 4 behind the decimal to calculate your pips away. GN, if it goes from 23.01 to 23.11, it just went up 10 pips, right? Versus it went from 23.01 to 24.01 and went up 100 pips. So it's a little bit different, but this is why, again, you gotta learn everything, right? Because a lot of times we make the mistake of trying to learn and try to make money at the same time. Well, you can essentially do that, if you have someone helping you. But let's be honest, like when we first learn about trading, what do? We try to find a broker, we put our money into the broker, and then we're trying to learn how to trade with putting our money on the line versus learning how everything works and practicing on a demo, getting everything together, making sure you know how to do this shit, then putting your money on the line, right? So if a lot of us start doing that in the beginning, there will be a lot less stress, a lot less annoyance, a lot less pressure, because you're just simply learning a skill versus, fuck, I keep losing money. I got to make this money back. I got to make this money back. Shit, I just put my rent money in here, even though I shouldn't do that because we're investing, not gambling, right? But again, this is why a lot of people struggle, because they don't know how to read the charts. They don't understand the calculator lot size. They don't know how to count pips, but they're still putting money in the markets and taking trades. Again, I used to do it, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't do it. But again, looking back at it, I can still say and admit that it's dumb, but we still all do it. You get what I'm saying? So that's a little crash course. I think I got a video on YouTube that kind of explains strictly how pips work and how to count pips on NAS, gold, and Forex pairs. I haven't made it in a while, but it's still relevant. So let me just find that video really quick. To count. And it seems kind of confusing. Like I said, you have to literally experiment. That's why I say you got to like apply the stuff. That's why, when we do the lives, like especially like the TikTok lives, I'm like, type in the chat, answer the question, stuff like that. But I got you. I'm about to drop the video in the chat right now. All right, so this video right here goes over how to count pips. I'll show you how to count pips on gold, NAS, and then Forex pairs, all that good stuff. So make sure to check that out. All right. Good question though. So again, y'all, those just joining in, we're waiting for some retraces and retest confirmations. And we're also going to break down why GN is doing what it's doing right now. Because you look at your chart, GN is pushing to the upside. And if you watch the Sunday chart analysis, first link in the description, what do we talk about with GN, right? Kind of same thing we talk about with GU. So again, looking at price right here, most people would assume sells because we see this push to the downside. But looks like a double. See. I'm glad you said that. Right? Because this is why I stress this in the book. Right? Here we go. You have to understand the prices are randomly doing things. That's important too. But this is the part that's important right here. Right? The charts are like a 1,000-piece puzzle. Each candlestick being one piece to the puzzle. Okay, do you think you can see the full picture with just one piece? No, Luffy? No, which is exactly why identifying a single candlestick doesn't help you understand everything. Think about it. These patterns or candlesticks people point out, do they actually explain what price is doing or why it's doing it? No, they just say when you see this, do this or that, right? So that's why you're also confused right now, because you're like, okay, well, again, this is why I say, like, if we just rip the Band-Aid off and stop trying to find shortcuts, instead, just learn how to read the charts. It'll make things a lot simpler. Again, I'm not acting like I didn't do it. I did it before, so nobody in here feel like I'm over acting like I'm just perfect because I used to do the same shit. But that's why I'm saying it don't work, because I used to do the same shit, right? Focusing on a candlestick or a pattern trying to cut corners versus learning the whole thing, right? So again, we got to figure out not just the pieces to the puzzle, but what the full picture is so we know where each piece goes, and then everything makes sense, right? So let's go back. Let's go to the next part, right? Okay. So prior to this rejection right here, right? So again, this is why it's important not to focus on one candlestick or pattern, but focus on the flow price. So understanding that, again, how we're going to understand what's taking place here, we first got to understand how price works and moves. I'll go over this in the book as well. There are 3 cycles price is always going to be in: uptrend, downtrend, or consolidation. Okay. So now that we understand these are the 3 cycles we're always going to be in, when we look at price right here, what does this look like? Does this look like an uptrend or downtrend? Looking at this, does this look like an uptrend or downtrend? Looking at this right here, does this look like an uptrend or downtrend? Looking at price right now. Which one of these 2 cycles does it look like we're in? Let me know in the chat, y'all. Let me know in the chat. YCGU can hold that level. And you see here, this is the reason why we went away from the retest. Price rejected. Then retraced down to this level, then blew up. But as you can see, when price retraced and retested, failed to really hold that support. Again, if you would have been a breakout trade, it would have took another unnecessary loss. So now I got to see it. You also see right here on this wick that price did retest these levels, so it's looking nice. But we're in the same boat as a lot of these charts where we have bullish momentum. We just need volume to take out these highs above it. I gotta fix it. What the helicopter's going on? That's stuff. Okay. So like we're about to break this down. We're about to break this down right now. So again, looking at price right here, do we see this or this? I got answering that. I mean, stuff, trade ideas just we set some reminders on my side and all that good stuff. If you guys got questions, drop them in the chat. I'm looking at your charts, drop them in the chat. But we're about to break this down to the science, y'all. Then we're going to show you why it's a playbook right here and why it's important. So, looking at price right here, this live is not old. No, this is we're live right now. This is a real live right now. I'm alive, you're alive. This is a live right now. But so looking at price right here, what's the uptrend consist of? Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. The downtrend consists of lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So again, looking at price here, does it look more like an uptrend or a downtrend? Okay. If you're thinking downtrend, you're not looking at the full picture. You're just looking at what price is doing right here. So if you were to say this is a reversal taking place, that is true. But what do y'all always hear me say about reversals? Well, let's go to the book. Let's go to the book. Let's see what the book says. Here is what the book says. Rejections and reversals happen, but a reversal doesn't always mean the trend is going to change. As long as price doesn't turn the support level into a resistance and or make a lower low, we are still in an uptrend and still only looking for buys. So we had a higher high, higher low, higher high, reversal. We don't see any lower lows, right? We don't see any lower lows. And we see a retest to show that levels went from support to resistance, right? We don't see any lower lows, and we don't see any retest showing that a support level got turned into resistance, which is why I say reversals don't always mean trends going to change. And why I always point out when we're in reversal territory, I literally say we're in reversal territory right here. And what I always say about reversal territory, I say I am going to wait for it to break above or below the reversal territory. And this is exactly why, because again, I'm not too concerned or worried about catching every pip in the market. I'm more concerned about the trades I take making me money, right? So again, it's all about going for high probability, high quality setups. So let me switch this to GN in real time, just to make sure we're not missing nothing. Okay. Whoops. What the heck? Maybe because I'm on bar replay on my other chart. Let me see if it'll let me. Okay, cool. So again, with GN, we're looking for one of two things. We're either looking to see a price can break and hold 2670 as support. If price can break and hold 2670 as support, we're going to rise to 2725. All right. So that's what we're looking at right now. I'm not in this position. I'm in this position. I'm in this position. I'm in this position. I took this position as well as the GJ position. I call it members and students. We got wick down at TP3. We're looking for either retracement or re-entry. Yeah, so that's how it's going. All right, so let's break this down. So again, we don't see any lower lows. So that means we're still bullish. But, and this is where patience comes into play. We are still bullish, but we cannot ignore the reversal, right? So we don't want to enter a buy when price is reversing. We want to wait for price to come back into the bullish territory and then look for buys there, right? It's just like what we did with GJ. When GJ reversed and was rejecting, did we go for sales here? No. We waited to see if price was going to break this level. Let's go back to the book. Break the support level and turn it into a resistance. That's what we waited for. And because we stuck to the rules and patiently waited, look what happened. Rejected, bullish momentum came back into play, right? But a lot of people would be confused because, again, they're chasing price instead of following the flow of price. You get what I'm saying? So let's go back to this right here. So again, in order for the downtrend to come into play, we need to see a lower low and we need to see the previous support level. We lower low and we don't see the previous support turned into resistance. So now let's hit the play button. All right. Looky here. Here's the retracement. Did we see price translate to resistance and make a lower low? No. So when price was doing this, especially with secure profits, we would have got caught in the fake out liquidity sweep, right? So that's why I always say it's a little bit risky to take trades in reversal territory, but just secure profits and no lower one turn loser, you kind of can do that, right? But we see here clearly that price did not make a lower low yet, right? So, and we also see here prices, this resistance level is being held as support, right? This was a resistance level. We can clearly see this was a resistance level because we see price reject this level twice, and then we saw the reversal into the downtrend come into play, right? So let's hit the play button. Look at that. And here we're at now. So let's break it down. So we had the reversal. It stayed here for 2 days, getting people to look for sales. And I'm not going to act like, because again, we go back in time last week, I said we were looking for sales. We did take a sell, but again, there was conditions that had to take sales. And after price rejected that level, we didn't take sales on it, right? We can literally see that right here. Right? When rejected the support level, turned to resistance, we went for sales. Right? But after price failed to hold this level of resistance and started turning back to support, we let price do its thing. Again, same exact level. We said what? We're going to wait to see if it hold that support over buys. Price rejected. It went back to this level that was a support and turned to resistance, which is why we went for sales. But as we can see, it came back up, reject this level, rejected, dumped. Right? This was on Wednesday. If y'all was in the Wednesday live stream, remember I said what? We need to hold what? 2390, 2395 as resistance for the downtrend to come into play. You see here, price went to that level, but didn't break. Right? Chilled here for a few hours. Guarantee a bunch of people were going for sales, and then that's what happened. Oh, fake out liquidity sweep. But is it really fake out liquidity sweep? No. It's, again, you just got to understand how price works and go for, again, not every pip in the market, but go for high probability, high quality setups. Now let's go back to GM. Again, we saw a reversal. Price failed to make a lower low. And guess what? The bullish momentum came back into play. right? So a lot of people are confused on why price did this. But again, it's because, like the book says, rejections and reversals happen, but a reversal doesn't always mean the trend is going to change. As long as price doesn't turn the support level into a resistance and or make a lower low, we are still in an uptrend and still only looking for buys. And we can clearly see here that price did not make a lower low and did not hold this level from resistance, support to resistance, right? It actually rejected, came back, held that support, as we can see with this push. Now we're about to see if we can break this high to the left, because that's what's needed for the uptrend to continue. Okay, so that's why the GN is doing what it's doing right now. That's why I was talking about looking for buys at that price point, looking for sells at that price point. All right, so put a one in the chat that makes sense. Put a 2 for loss, Joe. Again, this is why I be so strict and patient. I'm not concerned with price doing what it's doing, because I know what the game plan is. I'm sticking to the playbook. You get what I'm saying? But we have new 15 that just popped up. Let's look at GU really quick. GU's looking nice. Nice stuff. All right, so put a one in the chat that makes sense. Put 2 all show. Make sure to like the live, y'all, because nobody's breaking it down like this. All right, new video just dropped yesterday for y'all. Make sure to check that out if you haven't already. It's not a fake live. It's not fake. My chart is showing more candles than yours. So, hopefully you understood what we was doing at this point. But if you don't understand what we was doing, I was on bar replay, and I was explaining why I've been talking about waiting for the confirmation, looking for buys here, sells here all week. And while I was talking about this from the Sunday chart announcement in the beginning of the week, and why price is doing what it's doing, just like you see the script Sunday chart analysis, you'll also see in the beginning of the week, I was saying GBPJPY, how simply just in retracement and higher low. So I was doing a bar replay so I could break down literally bar for bar why price did what it did, so y'all can understand how price actually works, and so y'all can start avoiding these fake outs and liquidity sweeps, right? So that's why I did the bar replay, so y'all can understand, because if the price is where it's at right now, I'm breaking that down, yeah, but when I break it down bar by bar, you actually see price step by step follow these rules and do what we just broke down. It'll start to make sense. You get what I'm saying? But yeah. Let's see what else we got. If you guys got any questions, drop them in the chat. When we can need charge, drop them in the chat. Again, we're not missing anything. I've got alerts on my levels. You clearly see price rejecting this level. And look at this. The playbook, again, never fails. Why do I always say don't break out trade? Always wait for what? A retest confirmation. So imagine if you got impatient and would have went for a buy simply because you FOMO'd in because you missed this push to the upside. You missed this push to the upside. You would be taking another loss for no fucking reason, and all you got to do is wait 10, 15 minutes. See what I'm saying? That's why it's called the playbook. We got GU. About to do a retest for us as well. So we're about to see if we can hold this level here. NAS still pushing. I gotta fix that. I'm gonna fix that after the live. So I don't know what the hell happened there. All right, so put it on the chat that makes sense what we just broke down. Put a 2 for loss trade. Again, this is why it's so important to understand how price works. That way you can look at the big picture and know what because again, I'm only going for the big moves. I don't care about the small moves. I'm only going and looking for the big moves, because the big moves are going to give me, again, a higher probability and likelihood of me making money, but also higher probability and likelihood of the trade going in my favor, right? Which is why I always stress, only go for buys in the uptrend, only go for sells in the downtrend, on reversal territory. Hey, if you want want to take that risk, go for it, but just make sure when you're in profit to not let that win turn to a loser. But again, the goal is to go for high probability, high quality setups. All right, so let me cut you to the chat right now. See what y'all talking about. See what y'all talking about. Let's put this back on GU too. But yeah, we're about to break some more stuff down too, y'all. We're about to break some more stuff down because again, it doesn't matter what chart. Y'all can tell me a chart. I'll pull it up and you'll see these rules apply to every single thing without fail. Let's see what else we got in here. What's the confirmation that support holds or as support and resistance hold as resistance? So pay attention to what I do. Pay attention to what I do. I use this arrow for a reason, for a visual aid. All right, that's a good question though. So let's look at this GN setup. We see here that price was holding this level as support, which is why price, when it broke and retested, it bounced. Support and resistance levels are essentially like trampolines. Right? That's why when price hits these levels, they reject or bounce to the up or downside. So again, support levels help support price, push you to the upside. Resistance levels reject price and push it to the downside, right? So we clearly see here this level is being treated as support. The same exact level is also being treated as resistance. So again, it's all about momentum, which is again why I always stress to go with the flow of price, which is why I always say go for sales in a downtrend, buys in an uptrend, because you have the momentum going your way, and when you have the momentum going your way on top of going with the flow of price, and on top of entering off these key price levels, that is why every time we look at these trades, it's a nice satisfying bounce and push to the downside, bounce, push to the downside, bounce, push to the downside, bounce, push to the downside, right? Bounce, push to the upside. Bounce, push to the upside. Bounce, push to the upside. Right? Bounce, push to the upside. Bounce, push to the upside. Right? Bounce, push to the upside. Bounce, push to the upside. Bounce, push to the upside. Bounce, push to the downside. Bounce, push to the upside. Right? Bounce, 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 bounce. This is filthy, but we zoom out. When we zoom in, you can still see what? Bounce, right? Bounce, 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 bounce. Sound like a damn detergent ad right now. Bounce, right? So that's how that works. Good question, though. That's how that works. Let's see what else we got up in here. Make sure to like the live too, y'all, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Y'all see them scrolling at the bottom of y'all screen. Instagram playmaker_way, TikTok playmaker_way _. Also, make sure to hit that first link in the description. Join the free server for Telegram. You see on your screen how we did last month and last quarter. And if you click that, you can see all that yourselves. We're 4-0 this week. We've only taken one loss this month. And then we took 0 losses last month. And I think we took like 3 losses January. So, you know, we're coming to 2025 dominating shit. It's like 2024. I'll pull that up in a second. I'm going to catch it to the chat right now. So again, I go over this in this video as well. So this weekend, y'all definitely need to dive in, explore the playlist, and study up, because again, it's called a playbook for a reason. Playbooks available too, but I got a bunch of videos in the day trading tips playlist. The day trading tips playlist goes over tips on how to read the charts. It goes over support, resistance, supply, demand. I got a couple videos going over my trading plan. I later dropped a video last week going over how to never blow your account again. So make sure to explore the day trading tips playlist. But I got you. I'm about to drop the video in the chat to help you out. Find it really quick. So I've just been making some new videos. You gotta search for stuff. But again, I go over all this in the playbook as well, right? I go over how price works, rules of uptrend, rules of downtrend. This is all that stuff that's important, right? But in that video, I go over how to identify the trend, all that good stuff. So make sure to check that out as well. Because again, you need to understand how price works in order to have a fun and great time in trading. Because again, trading isn't stressful. It's not hard. People just make it stressful and hard because again, people try to cut corners or they treat it like gambling. But if you actually learn how the shit works, it's not stressful at all, right? Like if I lose a trade, I don't care. If I win a trade, I care. But you hear my voice, it sounds the same. But that's because again, I know because it's part of my playbook. I know every trade I take, how much I'm making. If it goes halfway, if it hits all my TPs, if it surpasses all my TPs, I know how much I'm making. So when I see that profit, I'm unfazed because this was part of the plan. Just like if a stop loss gets hit, I know how much I'm going to lose off this trade. And the most important thing, I'm okay with it and I'm accepting it, right? A lot of times y'all be like, oh, if I put this lot size, I can make X amount of dollars. But when the other thing happens, which is you can also lose X amount of dollars, that's when y'all get annoyed and upset. But me, when I teach the members of students on the back end, is to stick to your trading plan and most importantly, accept everything, right? That's why I always stress we don't control the markets. Get over it. Yes, there's manipulation. Get over it, right? That's why there's the saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. Are you going to try to play a game and keep complaining about how the game works? Or are you going to try to figure out how to play the game so you can be winning too, right? So it's the same thing with the charts. The same thing with the charts. But let's see what we got going on. Got a new 15 about to pop up in a little bit. Again, we had GP news pop off. We got a couple of news events today. We got 8:30 USD and Canadian news. Going to be going live with the members and students to see what goes on during that. We went live yesterday as well. So members and students, if y'all missed that, make sure to watch the recording. The recording is in y'all's respective Telegram channels. Again, we got the retest. So now we're about to see if we can hold this level as support. Again, if GU can hold 29.55 support, we can look for buys going to 29.90, 29.95. All right. We're looking for see if GJ can hold 194.70 as support. If it can hold 194.70 as support, we're going to be looking for buys going back up to 195.35. All right, y'all. So let me catch up to the chat. How about NAS100? Got you. So if y'all was in yesterday's live stream, remember what I said, where it's going to be looking for sales. But I was saying we can only look for sales if price can hold 19,840 as resistance. As we see here, price didn't hold it, and now it's holding it, right? So we're going to be looking for continued sales, but we don't chase trace. We're either looking for retracement, retest back up to 19,830, or if price can break and hold 19,660 as resistance, we can look for sales. Now, again, I also mentioned this yesterday because, again, this is what I talk on the playbook as well. An important thing is not just to know what your game plan is, but to understand all the possible outcomes price can make and take. Now, if y'all been in the TikTok lives or y'all watched yesterday's London session live, we know exactly what I'm talking about because we was breaking all that shit down in yesterday's lives. So, the reason why we're looking for sales here is because prior to this reversal, we was in a clear downtrend. And remember what we said yesterday? We had a new high or high get made, but we needed to hold this level as support to confirm that the uptrend was going to continue because, like we just talked about, it's the with the downtrend reversal. Let me just bring it up. Right? Remember? So ignore the support resistance part, but what's this top part say? Rejections and reversals happen, but a reversal doesn't always mean the trend is going to change. Right? So what we had a rejection, we had a reversal. So we break past and hold 19,470 as resistance, we're back in the downtrend. But we're also filling up the gap initially that came into the markets from Sunday. So we still need to hold this level as resistance because we can also see here that after the initial dump, price was really struggling to break these next two levels. All right. So that's what's going on with NAS100. No problem. Yeah, so we're just waiting for retracements right now. New video just dropped for y'all yesterday. Make sure to check that out if you haven't already. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, we're growing. We're growing slowly but surely. Like I said, like I chose this path. If I could be at 50K subs, I wanted to, but I want to attract the right crowd. I don't want to have a bunch of people in here that have a bad or misconception what trading is, because that's just gonna be a lot more stressful on my part trying to teach people that don't really understand what's going on or trying to find a get rich quick scheme, which is what you see a lot online. So again, I get it, but that's why again, I don't be flexing my profits, because like I say this all the time. I could be at 50K subs right now. I know how to do it. All I gotta do is post every other day my profits, money, right? Or I just gotta walk around the crib, or show some of my change, or you know, whatever. And I'll get views, right? But this is why I strictly just do education, because now I know if you're watching, you actually want to learn some shit, right? And I have no issue teaching, but I want to teach people that have the right mindset. So that's the way I do it, right? Because I could easily blow up. I know how to do it, but I don't want that audience, right? That's my choice. Yeah, I make more money, but I'm making money trading, so I don't. So yeah, I'm charging for certain things, but that's just how life and businesses work, right? Just like a trade or trying to learn to play an instrument. You can either learn the hard way, which is trial and error and learn yourself, which is what I did, or you pay someone that knows what the fuck they're doing, so you learn quicker and you avoid a lot of mistakes, right? So that's just how it is. That's just how the world works, right? But that's also why my shit's affordable. I'm not charging like $5,000 just to teach you some shit, right? Because again, I want you to get a return on your investment, but also because you know I'm eating pretty good off the charts. You know what I'm saying? That's just dropping right now, so we're going to see how it reacts to this level right here. Because like I say it all the time, I run other channels and niches. I run a couple of business pages, and those do a lot better than this page. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them do a lot better and have a lot less traction and stuff like that. But that's because again, this niche is a lot tighter. But also, I'm not doing what's unfortunately required to blow up in this space, right? But like I said, I have no issue with that because we're growing slowly but surely, and everybody in this community and space, we're eating. So I ain't got nothing to complain about. So let's see if we can hold this level right here. 5 minutes just popped up. If you guys got any questions, drop them in the chat. When you can use charts, drop them in the chat. All right, but that's also why I always stress pips and risk to reward ratio setups, right? Because let's say I took a trade and you know I made 3,000. I can title my video I made $3,000 trading, but that doesn't mean you're gonna make $3,000 trading, right? But if I drop a video or break down how I caught 50 pips, caught 100 pips, or caught a 1 to 3, 1 to 4 ratio setup, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You can catch that many pips. You can catch that ratio setup. You can grow this percentage every trade. Right? So that's why I always talk percentages, numbers, because that's what's actually important, right? So again, it's just a patience game, sticking to the flow of price, and not getting lost in the sauce, right? Because it can be, especially in the beginning. Like I used to do it all the time. Like I know I need to look for buys right now, but damn, this cancel looks so juicy and tempting. You just go for a sell, right? And then you know when price does some shit like this, right? Just think about it. Price dropped. Everybody and their mama on Wednesday was looking for sales on GJ. Then people were probably scratching their head confused. Like, why did price just shoot up like that? Oh, fake out liquidity sweep. That's why. No, it's simply because we're still in the uptrend, right? So Again, the hard part after you figure out the strategy is just the discipline. You know what I'm saying? But once you get the discipline down, it's literally just rinse and repeat. This price does the same shit every single day. Make sure to hit that like button, y'all, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Also, make sure to hit that first link in the description for Telegram. Yeah, we're going to break some more stuff down, y'all. We're going to break some more stuff down. Let me look at XRP. XRP, we can take a look at that. Let's go ahead. I got GM twice. I only GM twice on that. I was just for example purposes. Just been but yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Like with crypto, I don't really have too much, especially with what it's doing right now. Like if it was like last year where we had volume, that's different. Because when we have volume, I was looking at the shit every day. But when it's like consolidating or chilling, you know, you just look at it like every week. You know what I'm saying? Every month. Let me go to the right chart. Right, because again, it's doing the same thing from yesterday. So again, I'm dropping an XRP update this weekend, but again, we're chilling in this spot right here. So we can't hold 26 not 26, $2.30 as support. We're going to probably see price retrace down to $1.60, $1.62. But if we can maintain this level as support, we're going to see price come back up to $3.30. But it's going to need to hold that level as support for us to see the all-time highs get hit and ultimately see the uptrend continue. Because again, we are still, as we can see here. And we also have this resistance level that has not been respected as a support yet. So again, don't be too sharp surprised if price does that. Just like with Bitcoin, you look at my Bitcoin playlist, you will literally see for the past few months, the thumbnail's been the exact same. Not because I'm lazy, but because I've been trying to tell y'all that a retracement was going to happen. I've been telling y'all since we hit 100K, a retracement was going to happen. If you don't believe me, go to the Bitcoin playlist. You'll see each freaking thumbnail is me showing price shooting down. And if you look at that thumbnail, it's not even showing these candlesticks because I made that thumbnail when we first was about to hit 100K, right? And again, do I got a crystal ball? Do I got Trump on speed dial? No, it's because, like I talked about in this crypto video I'm about to drop in the chat, and like we talked about in the playbook, which is available now. If you do me, I'll give you a special code, but you can also use this discount code in the free signal for Telegram first subscription, right? But if you look at the thumbnail in this video, you will see that none of these monthly candlesticks are there because I literally was telling y'all this retracement to here was going to happen ever since we hit 100K, right? And for those that don't want to look it up, I got you. Here is capping my wrap. Go to my YouTube channel. And if we look right here, look at the thumbnail. Look at the thumbnail right here. You can literally see price just broke this line, right? And that line was here. And again, you don't see any of these months here because when we first was approaching and hitting 100K, I told y'all what? Just go to my Bitcoin hit 100K video. What did I say? If we fail to hold 100K, 98K as support, we're going to be retracing. Again, why do I know this? Because I stick and follow and trust the playbook. That's exactly what's happening right now, right? So again, everybody's freaking out. But again, if you understand how price works, retracements happen, and the uptrend isn't just high, but no, it's higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high. So when we look at price right here, we just had what? A higher high get made. So again, not only did we have a higher high get made, but we broke previous resistance levels that, again, what happened? Resistance got what? Turned to support. Then a new higher high got made. And then on top of that was a new all-time high. So now let's look at gold. What happened to gold when we broke all-time highs? You know what? Fuck that. Let's look at NAS100 because we're on NAS100 right now. What happened to NAS100 when we broke all-time highs? Oh, what's this? Oh, a retracement. And I'm not saying we're about to go into a downtrend, but that's why I've been telling folks, everybody's talking about we're in a crash right now. So when a real crash or downtrend happens, everybody in the mall is about to shit themselves because they don't know how to read the charts. They don't know what the fuck's going on, right? When we look at gold, same thing happened with gold when we hit all-time highs. What happened to gold when we hit all-time highs? Oh, a retracement. But did a downtrend happen? No. Bullish momentum came back into play. What happened when we broke all-time highs again? A retracement. Did a downtrend come to play? No. Right? So again, this is why you don't jump the gun, and it's important to understand how price fucking works, right? Let's put this back to NAS100. So again, we just went to crypto, talk about indices, talk about stocks, forex, gold. This works on literally everything. Literally everything. And again, I can explain any chart. It's going to make sense because again, simply when you know how it works, you'll be able to explain it. It's just like any field, right? Any field or any subject might look confusing or complicated, but once you understand how the shit works, you're like, oh, that's simple. It's the same thing with trading. It's simple, but it seems complicated because it's something brand new. You get what I'm saying? Let's revisit GU. Let me take you off the screen. Good question though. But okay. So again, this is why we wait for the retest confirmation. Because again, if we didn't wait for the retest confirmation, we'd be at risk of another unnecessary loss. See what I'm saying? So again, we're flipping through every chart and we see the playbook is still being followed. Let me catch you to the chat though. Yeah, shout out to TikTok too, but they be trolling. Like I said, if you're a member and you want to be a mod on TikTok, DM me because I am going to need some mods on TikTok. So if you're in the Advanced Play Sitting Room or the course channel, DM me and I'll make you a mod on there because when I be in mentor mode, I ain't looking at everyone hopping into the live, but people keep on reporting the live. So we have haters that don't want y'all to learn this shit. So I'm gonna need some of y'all to be mods so y'all can look out and see who's coming in or trying to promote themselves so you can get them the hell out of there so we don't keep on getting our live shut down, right? Because y'all saw that was 2 days in a row my live got flagged. I didn't show any profits. I didn't even talk about money. I didn't make any promises to y'all besides I'm show you how to read the charts. All I did was point my phone at my computer screen just like how it is right now. And 2 days in a row, I got reported for frauds and scams. But you go on TikTok right now, you're going to see 100 people on TikTok showing them their accounts, showing screenshots of money, screenshots of all types of stuff, but they're safe. So that should show y'all something. Again, this is the truth over here. All right, that's why I kind of stopped before, but fuck it. But I also don't want to lose this account because a lot of people on this account. I do have backup accounts just in case, but I'm gonna be willy-nilly with it. So I think they're getting my live access back because again, I wasn't doing anything fraudulent or scammy, so they can't, unless a bunch of people mass recorded, they can't just be like, oh yeah, well fuck it. The reason why a couple years ago my main TikTok got suspended and disabled was when I'd get flagged and they suspend my live after I had appeal, obviously to give it back. But if my thing is getting flagged 3 times in a row, because I'll be trying to go live 3 times on TikTok, they're gonna be like, okay, something's up. So that's why I didn't go back live on yesterday or on Wednesday after I got my live access back, because I just gotta let it breathe a little bit. But if y'all want to be a model on TikTok, let me know. I'm gonna need y'all to watch who hops in there. Anybody suspicious hopping in there, get them out of there. They're trying to do some promo stuff, get them out of there. They're trying to talk about some stuff that we ain't talking about, breaking down, get them out of there. Because I know for sure this time it was someone reporting me. And again, I don't know why someone want to report me on TikTok when I'm trying to give y'all free game. So if y'all want to be a model, let me know. New 5 minute just popped up, so we're about to see if we can hold this level of support right here. One second, y'all. You guys got any questions? Drop them in the chat. When can any charts? Drop them in the chat. Man, summertime. I know spring comes first, but spring and summertime is right around the corner. It's getting hot now. It's getting hot now. They try to keep it cold for a little bit, but nah, it's getting hot now, man. It's getting hot now, man. All right, so let's see what's going on. So that rejected. So I just got whipped out of this position, which is cool. Ain't no biggie, so I'm no longer in this. So again, at this point, I'm either going to look to see if it can hold this level of support still, and then look for a re-entry. So that's simple. So out of that, and we're watching this as well. We're about to see if we can hold this level of support. Because again, price rejected this level, blew through it, but never retested this level yet. So we're about to see if it can hold this level of support. NAS is still pushing. Let's put gold back up here because that's what we were supposed to break down. Is gold. So let's break down gold. What took place yesterday, right? Because again, if y'all was in the live yesterday, our eyes on gold. Remember, highs happened, but we literally disrespected and surpassed all the all-time highs like it was nothing, right? So let's break this down right here. Let's break this down right here. All right, let me cut you to the chat really quick. It's a double standard thing. No, I know exactly what it is. It's all good. Like I accepted it already, but it's not. It's kind of double standard, but I know how the shit works on social media, so it is what it is. I signed up for it, but yeah, that's why I kind of chilled back for a couple of years. I wasn't really posting too much besides on YouTube. But even if you look at me posting now compared to last year, I was just going live every day, and I was like maybe posting a video a week. And that's because after my shit got banned and all that stuff, I was like, well, damn, people were trying to grind and stuff, and people trying to stop and stuff. So I just took a little break and it was chill. I was like, I'm just going to focus on trading. Obviously I still push stuff, but also I'm just going to focus on trading for the most part. But then Like towards the end of last year, I was like, nah, bro. I just kept on seeing too much bad information online. I was like, nah, bro, we gotta lock back in. So that's why I've been going crazy this year. Not just on the charts, but as well as pushing videos and content and all that stuff. But I understand how TikTok works. That's why I'm not going too crazy with the live. That's why I'm not going live right now on TikTok as well as YouTube and stuff. I only go live a couple hours, drop some game, see if I can reach some more new people, and then get out, right? Because I see like I wasn't even live that long yesterday. It got me quicker yesterday than it did on Wednesday. Wednesday was live for like at least 2 hours. But yesterday we was live for like 30 minutes and then somebody got me. I was like, damn, it wasn't even live that long. But again, it's because I'm teaching shit, right? Because you go into a lot of and again, it's not no extra. I'm gonna stop. That's why they be getting mad. They're like, damn, he's teaching and he's exposing this. So I'm just getting mad. But anyways, let's break down gold. Right? So again, we'll talk about buys in yesterday's live stream. If y'all was in yesterday's live stream, y'all know this. If you wasn't in yesterday's live stream, just watch the recording. It's on YouTube, and you can see that again. I'm not lying. I was talking about buys. So again, a lot of people would have got messed up here because they see price did a drop to the downside, and instead of understanding the full picture, they're focused on chasing price, right? Because again, what do most people do? And I noticed a lot too in my one-on-one session because the same stuff I'm doing here, I'm doing a one-on-one session, but I go a lot deeper with it. But I'll quiz people. I'm like, what do we see right now? Right? And a lot of times they're making a decision based on the current candlestick versus again, what does the book say? Let's pull it out. Let's pull what the book says out. The charts are a 1,000-piece puzzle, each candlestick being one piece to the puzzle. So again, if we have a 1,000-piece puzzle, can we expect to know what the full picture is of one piece of the puzzle? Can we put a whole puzzle piece together with just one piece? No, right? So we can't see the full picture either with just one piece, which is exactly why identifying a single candlestick doesn't help you understand everything, right? You got to understand how price works and understand which one of the 3 cycles we're in, right? So really quick, let's just take a look at what we got going on. All right. So I don't like GN right now, so I'm going to use this one to break things down. Okay. Let me use this one to break things down. So, why did price do what it did here? Now, if you watch the Sunday chart analysis, I also talked about buys. And I've been talking about buys when price was doing all this ranging last week also. Why was I saying buys even though we clearly saw a bunch of red candlesticks? Why was I saying buys even though we saw a bunch of red candlesticks, a bunch of ranging and exhaustion to the upside? Why was I saying I'm still only looking for buys on gold? Why was I saying that? So it's very simple. Again, before price did what it did this week, this is what price was looking like, right? This was Friday last week. So before price did what it did this week, this is what price was looking like. So when we look at price right here, what do we see? An uptrend or a downtrend? Let me know in the chat. When we look at gold right here before this week started, what do we see? An uptrend or a downtrend? What do we see, y'all? Let me know what we see. Let me catch you to the chat while y'all do that. But let me know what y'all see. Right? When we look at gold, as of how it was last week before this week started, what do we see? An uptrend or downtrend? I set a buy stop on gold yesterday and got triggered and hit a sell. I missed it by 3 pips. Yeah, that's a risk of doing buy stops and sell limits and buy limits and sell limits. That's why, again, in the course, I go over my buy and sell limit strategy, but I don't use that buy and sell limit strategy anymore. It still works because I still, test it out to see if it works, but I don't really use it that much anymore unless we're super choppy. But I haven't used it in so long. When we were super choppy, I forgot to use it in a couple setups. But that's why I kind of like manually trading, right? So I get questions all the time, like, Do you use a copy trader, or do you do buy sell limits? Because you know I'll be like, oh, if price can hold this low, we're looking for buys. If price can hold this low, we're looking for sales. So a lot of times we're like, okay, so but there's a reason why, because again, there's still more confirmations that need to be met, right? Because just because price, again, let's go to a chart. I can show you better than I can tell you. I mean, I can do it both ways, but you'll understand it more if I show you. Like here, for example, this is why I tell the members and students all the time, and this is why I'm so anti-breakout trading. It's important where the candlestick goes, but it's more important where the candlestick closes. So let's say you had a buy limit here, or buy stop. Price would have broke this level, but it failed to hold that support, which is why, again, we have these confirmations. Right? So that's the risk of doing that versus watching the charts and waiting for those confirmations. Right? So buys was the right move, but that's why I stress so much watching the charts. But I get it. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But if you can do it, I highly recommend doing it. But we're about to break gold down because, as we see, gold ended up flying. So even if your stop loss got hit, you could have re-entered. But let me not say that, because I don't know why you didn't re-enter. Maybe it was just part of your trading plan, right? But this is why I was looking for buys yesterday, and why it's so important to understand how to read the flow of price, right? So looking at price, this is what price looks like Friday last week before the new week started this week. So again, first link in the description, watch the 72 analysis. I was talking about we're still bullish, we're still looking for buys. Also said you could see some retracement retest, but did I say we're going to be looking for sales? No, I said we're still going to be looking for buys because we're still bullish, right? So looking here, we're clearly in an uptrend. So let's go back to the book. What does the book say about uptrends? Let's find out. Let's find out. Let me go to the right page first. Okay, I'm going to give you some free stuff. So this is the rules to the uptrend. The uptrend consists of higher highs and higher lows. Higher highs, higher lows. So when we look here, again, what are the three cycles of price? Uptrend, downtrend, and consolidation. So when we bring these bad boys down, which one of these two things do we see? Uptrend or downtrend? Which one of these two things we see? Uptrend or downtrend? Now, hopefully we can all agree uptrend, but this is again why we need to understand the rules of cycles price is always going to be in, and then identify which one of those cycles that we're in. Again, I don't just be making shit up. Watch any of my trade breakdowns. Go to the day trading tips playlist. Watch any of my trade breakdowns. You can any, mini, mo, close your eyes, scroll for 2 seconds, and click a random one. Each trade breakdown, I the same way. And what do I always say? First thing you need to do is identify the trend. Then what do I say after that? Identify the trend on what? So I'm putting in the chat. What do I say? Every single trade breakdown video. What do I say? Let me know in the chat. Let me know somebody be watching my shit. Let me know somebody be watching my shit. What do I say every single time? Let me know. Every trade breakdown. What's the first thing I always say? Identify the trend, and then identify the trend on the bigger time frame. And then I go even deeper, right? I don't just tell you, oh, don't touch the stove, right? And then you touch it because you're curious and then you realize it's hot. No, I tell you, don't touch the stove because it's hot, right? So what do I say? I say you identify the trend on the bigger time frame, because that's how price moves. Price moves based off the bigger time frames. The smaller time frames only do what? They only show and explain what price is doing at that exact moment, which is why when you try to identify the trend as well as enter and exit all on the same time frame, on the 5-minute time frame, that's why you get caught in these fake outs and liquidity sweeps, because you're trying to chase price on the smaller time frames, and you're using the smaller time frames for the wrong reason, the wrong purpose, and you're also identifying the trends on the smaller time frames instead of on the bigger time frames. So that's why you get caught in these fake outs and liquidity sweeps. Well, that's why you think sells and you wonder why price shot to the upside, right? Or you're confused, like, oh, price just dumped here, so why didn't it continue to dump? Because again, bigger time frame, we're not in the downtrend. So again, it's called the playbook for a reason. So looking back at gold, we are clearly in an uptrend. So that means what? We only look for buys, right? So let's go back to the book. What else does the book say about the uptrend? Let's pull it up. Rejections and reversals happen, but a reversal doesn't always mean the trend is going to change. As long as price doesn't turn the support level into a resistance and or make a lower low, we are still in an uptrend, still only looking for buys. So let's play it a little bit. Boom. Is price still holding this low as support? Let's hit the play button and find out. Boom. It is still holding this low as support. It's still holding this level as support. So now we go back to the London session lives. That's why I was saying we're still looking for buys. But what? I was waiting for price to either retest this level or break above and hold this level as support. Right? So now let's fast forward to yesterday. Boom. We wait for the retest because that is part of the playbook. We wait for the retest. Price failed to hold that support. So what would have happened if we did a breakout trade instead of just waiting for the retest? Would have took a loss for no reason. And what would happen if we weren't identifying the trend and following the flow of price from the bigger time frame, but looking at what price was doing right here? We would think sells, right? So when price came back up to this level, people went for sells just to see what? Price retest and shoot to the upside. Ain't that crazy? So this is why people are like, why is price doing this? It's like, because again, you're not following the rules of price. Wait for a retest, follow the flow of price. Price broke the level, retest, and did exactly what he was looking for. All he had to do was patiently wait. You see that? All right, let me know if y'all see that. Let me know if I'm crazy. If I'm crazy, let me know. I might be. Let me know. All right, y'all. So that's simple, y'all. So again, we're looking for possible buys on GU. If GU can hold 29.60 as support, we can look for buys going to 29.95. NAS100, we're looking for sales. So we're either going to look to see if price can retrace and continue to hold 19.840 as resistance, or if it can break and hold 19.660 as resistance, we can look for sales going to 19.480. All right. Gold, I'm not messing with gold. It just broke all-time highs again. So unless it does a decent retracement, which I'll tell you, oh, it's doing a retracement, which is nice. So if gold can retrace, retest 30.58, 30.60, and hold that support, we can look for buys going back up to the all-time highs. Right? So that's what we're looking at. You can also possibly try to retrace 30.30, but it just broke all-time highs, and we got news today. So I wouldn't recommend trading gold over other charts, especially other charts that have nice setups. Again, it's all about going for high quality setups. But yeah, we got news at 8:30. I'm going live with the members and students during that. So members and students should be on the lookout for that link. GJ, if GJ can hold 194.70 as support, we can look for buys going back up to 195.40. And then if we can hold that as support, we can see buys team up to 196, 196.05. And let's bring up GBP New Zealand right now. You guys got questions, drop them in the chat. Looking at your charts, drop them in the chat. All right, so GN, that's not what GN looks like. Let's do the bar replay. There we go. So GN, we're going to be looking for buys as long as price can respect and hold 2620 as support. If it can respect and hold 2620 as support, we're going to look for buys up to 2725. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the first series of the official playbook series dropped midnight. I'm glad I did that on this screen and not the other screen. Telegram, let me be great. Control me. There we go. All right, first link in the description. Join the free signal, free Telegram. The official playbook first series just dropped. All right, use the discount code MyYear before purchase to get 15% off. But like I've been saying all week, DM me, I'll give you a special discount code. Shout out to those that did. You know, if you ain't, if you plan on getting the book, make sure to do so. We're 4-0 this week, y'all. Took 0 losses this week. We scroll up to last week. Went 3-0 last week. Week before that, we went 3-0. Week before that, we went 3-1. So we only lost one trade in the signal room this month. We scroll to March 3rd, I believe. You'll see how we ended February. We went 12-0 February, gives us a 100% win rate. You click right here. It'll take you to the beginning of February. You see it says February 5th. Again, everything's dated, timed, and documented. You see the times, you see the dates, you see the links to the lives. All these trades we broke down literally in every live stream. So if you want to fact check me, the lives are still on YouTube. The dates and times are right here. And the Sunday chart analysis are here too. So you can literally hear what I'm saying. And then to start off the year, we went 17-3 January. So we've been absolutely dominating this year. But we're just picking up where we left off last year, right? Because if we scroll to, I think January, this is how we did quarter 4. After this weekend, I think Monday is the last day. So Tuesday, I'll do the recap of the month. Later on that week, I'll do the recap of quarter 1. But if you scroll to January 6th, you can see how we ended 2024. We absolutely dominated 2024. Got a total of 326,550 pips. 181 wins, 23 losses, giving us an 89% win rate, averaging less than 2 losses per month last year. Went absolutely insane. Again, you can go to January 6th and check this out yourselves. Click here, it's going to take you to the beginning of the year. This is how we started out last year, January 20. Here, it takes you literally the beginning of the year, and you can check all this stuff out, confirm all this stuff out yourselves. You go to where it says subscribers. There's over 1,500 photos of receipts. So if you want to see receipts, you can see screenshots of the signals, screenshots of positions, as well as 3 results of testimonials, and then over 3 years worth of receipts. See in 2024. You can see we're about to be in 2023. Nothing changed but the date, time of the year. You can see the receipts, you can see the signals. We've been doing this for a long time, y'all. We ain't doing this. You see I'm still scrolling. Y'all can do the same thing and check out these receipts, y'all. We've been doing this literally for a while. Everything's been documented, all that good stuff. We've averaged high 80, high 90% win rates literally for 3 years, y'all. Again, we're in 2022 now. Nothing's changed besides these wonky ass levels, right? So again, this is how I used to. My charts just look wonky like that. Now they're a lot more precise and even, right? But you can see the growth from 2022, but you'll also see the consistency in the trades caught. Again, these aren't baby pips, right? Entry 92.87, 93. That's almost 100 pips right there. Like we've been doing this for a minute, y'all. Look at this nasty drop on gold. Boom, 1789, 1767. Really for a reason. Again, y'all. Pay attention to the news at 8:30. Shout out to everybody in the live. Shout out to everybody that's been live since the beginning. Shout out to everybody that's been live since y'all joined. Make sure to hit that first link in the description. Join free signal, free Telegram, y'all. If you're interested in how I identify these levels, my signal service, my mentorship program, all links are in the description. Again, you watch any of my YouTube videos, the last 2.5 minutes, I go over all the details along with programs and services. But of course, any additional questions, you can contact me on Instagram or TikTok. I mean, not Instagram or TikTok, Instagram or Telegram. I mean, you can contact me on TikTok as well. I respond to all messages. And yeah, I'm most likely going to go live today. I'll let y'all know like I did yesterday if I go live today on TikTok, though. And yeah, enjoy y'all's weekend, but do not waste y'all's weekend. Again, study up, review y'all's trades, come up with a game plan if you don't have a game plan, all that good stuff, y'all. But enjoy y'all's weekend. And members, I'll see y'all in a few hours.